All right, y'all. I really hesitated to do this video this week only because obviously if you watched any of my past videos, we are now below a level that I recommend going long. Uh, the level is, of course, on the Bitcoin chart. We're below this ascending black line, and above that, I still go long on positions. Below it, I wouldn't recommend it. Um, so really, this video should be a series of shorts that you might take. However, we're still in what I consider very indecisive territory. So even though we're below this black line, we're starting here with Bitcoin again, in case you haven't watched the daily update. We are in a bull wedge. We are on strong support at 37,550, and we have hidden bullish divergence on the daily RSI. All right, so those three things are bullish indicators. So even though we are below this ascending black line in the sand, and I wouldn't recommend going long below that, um, there's still bullish indicators out there. And so I want to keep these videos up because y'all enjoy this week's hotness. It seems like it's one of the more popular types of videos I do. Uh, Weekly updates on Bitcoin are not interesting. They're necessary if you want to determine the overall trend, but they're not ever going to be popular, and neither really is any technical analysis video, unless you're a geek like me. And so, all of you geeks, I welcome and enjoy your company here. Let's take a stroll through what we got on this list. The first several are those of you who just watched the last video I did a few hours ago, the removal list. Last week I did very horrible. It was the worst a set of cryptos that I've ever had. And I only had a few that pumped, most of them dumped, of course, along with what we're seeing here. We dumped below that ascending line on Bitcoin, and that is exactly precisely when all of the altcoins especially dumped hard. All right, so that was the big factor. And because of that, because we fell below that ascending line on our chart here, altcoins did especially bad. And so again, this video I was very hesitant to do because I don't like recommending longs in a short market. We have a market that we're going against the trend in, and we're going against the trend in the most speculative and risky uh, crypto asset class there could possibly be. It's these fringe altcoins that many will die during a bear market. So we have to be very careful here. All of that disclaimer out of the way. Let's take a look at what remains and also what I found. What remains is Cult USDT. All right, we broke out of this descending wedge, bullish wedge, and yesterday we had at least 30% plus profits, and we still have another green candle forming there. First line of resistance is that 1981 with 4 zeros in front of it. All right, I already covered that in the removal video, so I won't spend time on these. EOS is still in that long trending descending wedge. This one's going to be on, I expect this to be on the hotness list for several weeks because this is a longer trending descending wedge. Bullish, but it'll take probably a little while to get out of there. Wrapped Luna or Luna, very hot coin. I mentioned before, this was my new target down because it was so hot. I did not expect us to come down to the $78 support. I wanted us to, and in a video 2 weeks ago, I said we will come back down and hit that. And then I changed my course of prediction in the last video, and I said 84 appears to be like the bottom line. And of course, like crypto likes to make us technical analysis look is stupid, and so it will sometimes just destroy all of your analysis in theory with price action. And that's what it did. So we came down to $78. A very good deal, in my opinion. Remains on the hotness list because I do still expect we hit that $135 target at least, and more, depending on what's coming up here in the future for crypto. DNT pumped. I left it on the hotness list because I said we have to determine what this candle, let me zoom in here, does. And during the removal video, we were above this 50-day. So I didn't want to take it off at that time. Now we're below. We have to determine where this candle closes today before I take it off the list. If it closes below that 50-day, I would definitely take it off the list. If it closes above, it still remains on the hotness list. All right. And we could go up and tag that resistance, which I had clearly drawn there, and we tagged it precisely here on, when was that, Saturday? Exactly. And that's why it's important to have these levels drawn out, guys. You got to know where your targets are. And technical analysis, it's amazing sometimes how precise this can be. So we tagged that exactly at 13.68 cents. Couldn't be more precise. All right, so now what we're waiting for is the candle today. Whether we close above that 50-day or below determines whether we leave this on the list or take it off. Koval I left on the list because we got the lowest priced ever. And we have our RSI in far deep oversold territory. And we have the 50-day 45% overhead profit possibility. All right, so I left that on the list mainly because of how, excuse me, oversold our RSI is expressing. All right, now here is the additions. I just added these a few minutes ago. I went through the list really quickly. I really didn't feel like, I don't want to oversell something here. I don't want you guys to lose your shirts. This is a tricky situation. Not for the faint of heart, and really for the most experienced uh, traders, still difficult to navigate. The Fed is always that wild card. Jay Powell and company rule the world in terms of the way the economy goes. All right. And we don't exactly know how everything is going to pan out. The market has been pricing in another pretty significant rate increase of at least half a basis point. But will Jay Powell do that or not? I mean, you don't really know until it's done, right? So it's a very tricky trading environment to navigate, and you really have to be careful. Play all of these defensively, and if you're going into these, you're not being very defensive. I'll say that. All right, your risk tolerance is very high, but these are they look to be somewhat promising, all things considering. So the first one I've added this morning was AVAX. Reason I added it is we are near our low, or actually we did tag our low. If I draw another line right there, we tagged our low. See this wick down. And now we've popped back above. And the other thing I can do here to show why it's worthwhile to have added is let's extend this trend line down. All right. So really it should be drawn right there. So what we did, yeah, that looks good. So what we did is we came down, we popped out of this bullish flag, and then we came back down and tagged our previous resistance, testing it as support. And it proved it was good support. That gave us enough momentum to pop back above this next level of serious resistance at 59.82. Now we haven't closed the candle out today. Keep that in mind. This is kind of an early addition, but it looks promising. It looks like we are going to close above that $59.82 mark. And if we do, that is your indicator that this is a great, uh, all things considering. I won't even say great. This is a good entry for this particular coin. So Avalanche gets added to my list. This one's called Braintrust. Now, what I've noticed about Braintrust is when lots of other cryptos are falling, for whatever reason, it seems to rise to the occasion. Now, I put it on the list because we are above the 100 and the 50 day, and looks like we want to tag that 200 day moving average at least. So there you have a little, a good 7.8% from where we're at right now. I'll take that. Um, Really, that's the only reason why I added it. It is one of these cryptos that likes to do the opposite. It's contrarian to the market. It's bouncing off that 50 and 100 and looks like it wants to tag that 200-day moving average. All right, gods I put on the list because we are in this longer trending descending wedge, which is, as you know, very bullish. All right. And we're near the bottom of this wedge. All right. And I probably, yeah, looks like I can actually move this trend line up. And the reason why I can move it up is because the bodies of these candles are a more powerful indicator than the wicks. You'd rather have the body touching a significant trend line than the wick. Uh, think of it as providing more strength. All right. So the body of these candles looks to be stronger than a wick, right? A wick is just like a toothpick. It won't hold much up. You can draw, and it's significant if the trend line does touch those wicks. But in my opinion, from what I've seen, the bodies of the candles are more significant. So if you can get a trend line to touch the body versus the wick, that is the stronger trend line. So Gods has touched the bottom of, or we have touched the bottom of this descending wedge. And so you have a lot of promise and probability above us. First line of resistance would be at that $1 mark. So we're currently at 72 cents, the lowest price we've ever been. And the 50-day moving average is now at $1.18. You got quite a bit of potential above us on Gods. And this one does like to pump. If it breaks out of this descending wedge, that thing is going to go flying. It's going to go far above the 50-day, probably above the 100-day, probably all the way to $2.08, quite honestly. Let's measure that from where we're at right here to $2.08. Jeez, that's like 180% profit. It's very well within reach, guys. KNC. All right. I have been wanting to add this to the list for quite some time. The reason is it has been so hot. Well, everything since November has fallen. Okay. So you can see this. Well, Bitcoin has fallen and all of the cryptos have fallen. Look at KNC, Kyber Network. It was at $1.49 and went all the way up here to the highest of $5.70. I think that was like 350% profit. It has gone up 350% while everything else has fallen at least by 50%, in many cases, like our altcoin space, 80% or more. All right, so Kyber is added to the list because we are now coming down to meet the 50-day moving average, which is intersecting with a significant line of support. Great area of confluence right here. That's probably going to give us enough support to at least do a little bit of a bounce. And because Kyber Network is so hot right now, I don't really see us falling or breaking below that unless, back to the Bitcoin chart, all rise on Bitcoin, unless Bitcoin dumps from this bullish wedge. All right. And if we get below this 37,550, that's serious trouble for all of our altcoin space. All right. So you've got to watch that Bitcoin price closely. LTC has been a long time since I saw Litecoin. Little Litecoin. Why did I add this? Because we are on a multi-year support. This pink line, we first started tracing this line back here in November of 2020. All right, so that's been over 2 years now. This line has held as either resistance, in this case, resistance, or support over here in December of 20. It was the first tested as support, and then we came down. We almost touched it here in July of 21, and then you can see we've retraced and we've hit it several times within the last 3 or 4 months here. All right, so we are now sitting on that as support, and this is a longer term bull flag. Look at this bull flag, man. This is huge. So I think I've already got the measurement laid out here. So on a longer time scale, guys, because this seems hardly believable at this point with the amount of pessimism in the market right now and with what Bitcoin is showing us, it doesn't seem possible. But in a longer term time frame, we have targets up here. I can move this down now, so it's not quite so high. Where we expect to break out. I would say it would take us right to 412. So I'm saying that within, I don't know, months, we could get to that 412 dollar. It seems unbelievable right now. It was hard for me even to say that right now because everything is so pessimistic. But in any case, you at least have that 50-day and that 100-day overhead, right? You could at least shoot for that. We are on serious baseline support, and that 50-day and 100-day overhead gives you at least 16%. If you don't want to wait all of this time and tie up your money in illiquidity, then go, shoot for that shorter term objective of the 50-day or the 100-day moving average. That's quite reasonable, I think. Poly, again, another one resting on long-term support. Not quite as long-term because this one doesn't track quite as long. But again, we've tagged this once, twice, three, now fourth times. And the 50-day and 100-day is overhead, and we are near oversold territory on the RSI. This one's maybe not as probable as something like Litecoin, but still a pretty good, a pretty attractive buy here. Power is the next one. Again, tagging low support. RSI is down there near oversold, and we have the 50-day and the 100-day way overhead. On this one, it appears to be about 25% overhead. Finally, I've added QSP to this list. I added this because this looks like a bull flag. It's above the 50-day. Some people, you could even draw, do I have enough time here? Yeah, you could even draw sort of some kind of a cup and handle pattern. I know it looks ugly, but it definitely follows all of the criteria. The handle being 1/3 the depth of the cup. And so, like, if this 50-day moving average just bumps us up, and if we can break that neckline here, take a look at where we're going to go on QSP. All right, you measure the depth of the cup, put it approximately where you expect to break out. It's going to take us oh, look at that. It matches that wick high. That is perfect. That is a perfect target right there. 10 cents. You could shoot for 10 cents. We're at 6 cents right now. All right. That is my this week's hotness list. I hope you guys enjoyed. Investing in any one of these is for obvious reasons very risky. I'm sorry, my text has fallen off there. I don't know why every time I have to reformat that. Let me jump over here. Bitcoin has fallen below desirable levels to trade long, and the trend is currently bearish. I'm showing longs in this market that favors shorts. So be very careful with your picks and never risk more than you can afford to lose. That is all I have for you today, folks. Peace. See you in the next one.